Hey everybody, this is Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by me, the Little Shaman. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that I get asked about a lot, and that is whether narcissists can help the way that they act. The answer to this is not really black and white. I think that narcissists do choose intentionally to hurt others when they themselves feel hurt. You can't really look at their behavior and come to any other conclusion, regardless of which disorder they have. It's obviously intentional, at least some of the time. However, the disorder is still at least partially to blame. The narcissist probably would not act that way in the first place if not for the disorder, because the motivations and emotions that drive those hurtful behaviors would not be present. There would be no reason to hurt other people, either intentionally or otherwise, because they would not irrationally feel hurt or threatened in the first place without the disorder. They would not be so envious, jealous, paranoid, afraid, angry without the disorder. So do they choose to be hurtful and hateful? Yes and no. Yes, they are choosing to act the way that they're acting, but that behavior is driven by the emotional dysfunction and dysregulation that is caused by their disorder. This clouds their judgment and makes it very difficult for them to see that their behavior is wrong or that it's an overreaction. The emotional immaturity of narcissism causes them to have poor impulse control, and it makes their inability to manage their emotions much worse. However, I want to be very clear here. It doesn't really matter anyway. Whether someone can control themselves or not does not change the effect of abuse on the victim. The narcissist does have specific issues that make emotional and behavioral regulation difficult, but it is not impossible for them. If it were, there would be no narcissist who can control themselves ever, and there are some who can. Most narcissists, including borderlines and histrionics, act the way they do because they've given themselves permission, or they've been given permission to act that way for whatever reason. They gave themselves permission a long time ago, to the point that it might now feel like just a reaction to them, but it is a choice. Usually they feel justified because they're hurt or they're scared, and they feel like that trumps everything else, including respect for other people and other people's feelings. We can see proof of that in situations where the narcissist does not act out in front of others, such as if there was a policeman around or maybe in a public place. They generally are capable of controlling themselves when they feel it's necessary. That's the key right there, when they feel it's necessary. When they don't feel that it's necessary, when they feel they have permission to act out, then they will. Of course, this is a general thing, and if the person's narcissism is complicated by other things, it may be easier or more difficult for them to regulate their emotions. It just depends. Everybody's different. Narcissism in particular, though, is a problem that revolves around emotional dysregulation or problems with affect, so in general, you'll see difficulty in that area. People sometimes take offense when I say that borderline personalities or histrionics are narcissists. I'm sorry if that upsets people, but it is the truth. Cluster B personality disorders fall under pathological or clinical narcissism on the narcissistic spectrum. That includes borderline personality disorder. Most people who have dealt with someone at any length who has histrionic, borderline, narcissistic, or antisocial personality disorder will agree with the categorization here. These disorders usually occur in clusters. Also, it would be pretty rare for someone to only have symptoms of one. So in other words, a person usually has more than one cluster B disorder at the same time. So someone who has borderline personality disorder will also often have a histrionic personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder as well. Or someone may have a mixed diagnosis where they show symptoms of all of them, whether they realize it or not. The word narcissist does carry many unfortunate connotations, but it really only refers to a pattern of behaviors related to certain disorders or certain personality types. It's not an indictment of someone's character. Only someone's behavior is an indictment of their character. If someone does not like the opinion that others have of them, they need to work on improving their behavior. And that goes for everybody, not just narcissists. We're only as good or as bad as we want to be. In the end, it doesn't matter whether the narcissist or anyone can control themselves if their actions are abusive. We have a tendency to think that if someone believes they cannot help the way they're acting, or if their behavior is the result of hurt or fear, the behavior should be excused or even accepted. This is just not true. Abuse is never okay, regardless of why it happens. It doesn't matter if the person abusing you was sad or scared or upset or mad or afraid or anything else. It doesn't matter. It's not an excuse whether they think it is or not. It doesn't matter whether they, quote, meant to abuse you or whether they felt it was wrong. You do not have to put up with abuse just because someone else gave themselves permission to treat you badly or because their disorder renders them unable to behave any other way. Their disorder is not your problem and it's not your responsibility, it's theirs. Their behavior is not your problem and it's not your responsibility, it's theirs. You cannot control what the narcissist does or does not do, and you cannot change their behavior with your actions. It won't happen. You can only control yourself and your own actions. It's not possible not to upset the narcissist because they're already upset. You can only control yourself and your own feelings and your own actions. So you have to decide if you think the relationship is worth the abuse because you have the power to walk away. To be perfectly honest, no relationship is worth the abuse and the emotional torture that most narcissists deal out, especially since you get nothing else. But it's ultimately up to you. How much value do you place on yourself? I hope this helped clear a few things up for you. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast. As always, I look forward to your comments, suggestions, and stories. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.